And go. Hey, Daniel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Jeff? Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thank you for joining me on Indispensable Appraisers podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Just tell me just a little bit about yourself, what you do, where you're at, what kind of work you do.
Sure. So I'm the co-founder, president, and CEO of a firm called LW Hospitality Advisors. We're focused exclusively on the lodging sector, hotels, resorts, casinos, conference centers, timeshare properties, and a whole slew of alternative lodging products from glamping to auto camps and the like. We're a professional services organization headquartered in New York. We're about 43 professionals with boots on the ground throughout the country. About 15 professionals are based in New York, and the rest are all over, including Atlanta, Boston, DC, San Diego, Seattle, Denver, Dallas, Austin, Cleveland, Minneapolis. We have three silos of business. Silo number one, I characterize as a non-advocacy silo. Doesn't matter who we're doing the work for. Our findings are our findings, and that's valuations, appraisals, market studies, feasibility work. We do a fair amount of litigation-related work for a whole myriad of reasons. Silo number two is an advocacy silo, asset management, where we provide oversight of day-to-day hotel managers. We are not, everybody in the group has day-to-day hotel managerial experience, but we don't offer that as a service. What we offer is acting as owner's representative and overseeing day-to-day operators. A subsegment within asset management is receivership work. We do quite a bit of that. And then a final subsegment on an advocacy basis is working with folks who we very respectfully refer to as newbies to the hotel space. So they're smart, sophisticated, they know and understand real estate and finance and markets, what have you, but they come up a little short on the hotel expertise. And hotels are a very unique commercial real estate asset class for a whole variety of reasons that we can get into if you want. And the third silo is a predictive analytics platform, again, focused exclusively on the lodging sector. The name of that outfit is Lodging Analytics Research and Consulting, or LARC, L-A-R-C as an acronym.
Oh, well, thank you for joining me today. So first question is, in the valuation space in our industry, where are we winning at? What are we doing good at?
Well, I think what we're doing good at, it's, listen, the valuation industry, the appraisal industry has always been a terrific entry point for folks that are interested in getting into real estate, whether it's residential real estate, but I'm focused exclusively on commercial real estate. It's a great place to start. It's a great place to learn the fundamentals of commercial real estate. For those that have aspirations to go on to other things, whether it's brokerage or leasing or what have you, investing, right? It's a great venue to, and always has been and will continue to be a great venue to get into in order to enter the real estate space. I think another win is the Appraisal Institute, which is the leading professional association for real estate appraisers and valuers. They've really championed the profession for decades, and they've recently installed new leadership, which has brought a new, fresh voice and a very renewed spirit of entrepreneurship, which is important for this business.
Oh, great. Appreciate that. And in our industry, again, I'm talking broadly, not specifically hotel appraising, but just in our industry in general, what are our greatest challenges?
There are several. The first that comes to mind is there's clearly confusion amongst the users of appraisal valuation services with the various options, whether it's a restricted report or a desktop analysis or a narrative appraisal, an evaluation, a feasibility study. There's a bit of confusion as to what those various definitions mean. I've had clients ask me about, restricted versus a narrative appraisal. And, my response always is, listen, the field work and the analysis to come up with a credible conclusion of value is the same, irrespective of how it's being communicated to a client, right? So whether it's orally being communicated at one end of the spectrum or a 200-page written report at the other end of the spectrum, the fieldwork and the analysis should always be the same, because the value is the value, right? How it's communicated is a different story, and that's, in my mind, where the options really come into play. Again, it can be confusing for those that are not necessarily in the know. Other challenges would include clearly fee compression, as well as compression associated with timing requirements. I mean, I remember when I started in this business, 4 weeks, 5 weeks was fairly standard, and I think today 2 weeks is fairly standard, and it seems to be shrinking as time goes on. I would also say that other challenges include, unfortunately, negative impressions and/or sentiments about appraisers. It's I think as time has gone on, it's been more challenging to convince young professionals that this is a terrific profession, and also a gateway to get into commercial real estate just in general. I really believe that we should hold ourselves out as valuers as opposed to appraisers, only because there's this negative connotation with the term appraiser. Or better yet, and candidly, that's what I do, I hold myself out as a commercial real estate advisor focused exclusively on lodging. How can I help you? And if I don't do it, I know the right people to go to, right? So I'm not an intermediary. I don't engage in brokerage type services, but if that's what somebody's looking for, I can point them in the right direction. There's a lot I do that goes way beyond pure valuation and appraisal. But again, what I don't know, I know the right people to go to within the lodging sector. And it's been very productive for me, because I've had numerous clients sort of latch on to me for one-stop shopping. There's, I think, unfortunately, a perception that appraisers, valuers, tend to look back, as opposed to, I've had somebody recently tell me, well, a broker opinion of value looks forward, whereas an appraisal looks backward. I think that's way off base. Again, it's a misconception in my mind, because last I checked, for commercial real estate, discounted cash flow is kind of the way to value income producing property. And if you're doing a discounted cash flow, you're looking forward. Two more challenges. Well, one challenge that I think could bifurcate into two pieces is technology, right? And the valuation appraisal profession, I think, has been a little bit slow in terms of embracing technology. I think it's happening now because folks realize that there's really no choice. And then there's the potential threat. I'm not sure if it's going to happen in our lifetime, but the potential threat of AI eliminating the need for human intelligence.
That's interesting. Huh. On the, I want to double click on your predictive analytics. You mentioned that was your third bucket. Can you give me
Yes.
just a quick overview of what that is?
Sure. So our partner in that space, he's a former Wall Street equity analyst focused exclusively on the lodging sector. And his last gig before starting this platform with us was he was the chief strategy officer for a publicly traded hotel REIT, and he's a data geek. And he was very frustrated with the lack of transparency, as well as the lack of accuracy of prognosticators within the lodging sector. So he wrote a business plan to come up with a service offering whereby, well, first of all, his batting average, if you will, his predictability, when you back test his predictions, he bats close to 80%, 80, which is phenomenal, because he measured prognosticators in the space who were barely getting to 10%. So he came up with this offering whereby it started out top 25 markets in the United States, where he created a subscription offer 4 times a year, producing reports that were comprehensive. And for any investor looking at Cleveland, for example, it would have everything in this report, looking back, looking forward, all the economic, demographic data you could imagine, and then his forecasts, which are highly accurate. That offering has now ballooned to, I think we're up to 70 markets, 70 at this point. And then we do a lot of custom work for folks that are looking to drill down to not just major markets, but specific submarkets. And furthermore, we've layered on a GIS platform so that at this juncture, the offering allows folks that are subscribers to pinpoint any location in the United States and generate a report that I just described to you for any location in the United States.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to circle back to that is because I think you're painting the opportunity for appraisers either today or in the future, where you mentioned the slow embrace of technology, you mentioned a little bit of AI. I know this isn't necessarily AI, but it's your third bucket, right? You have valuation, litigation, but this predictive analytics, who better to understand, interpret, apply, discuss, support that data would be appraisers.
100%. And that's one of the reasons why we're in this business.
Perfect. So that is a fantastic example of you're actually doing some of the suggestions.
We also have appraisers who subscribe to this offering.
Fantastic. That's really interesting. It kind of leads to the third question is, you mentioned, some confusing formats, fee compression, time compression. Where do we go from here? Looking in the future, maybe short term, long term, what do you think appraisers should do? What do you think the industry should do? Whoever's listening to this.
I'm a big believer in specialization, right? If you have a problem with, if you have a skin condition, right, you're not going to go see an orthopedic surgeon to deal with that, right? You're going to see a specialist. And maybe it's because I specialize and I've always specialized, but I really do believe that specialization is the way to go. It's really nearly impossible to know all property types in all markets, right? And so I'm focused exclusively on lodging. I think it makes sense to focus on a property type, not necessarily a geographic area, because if you focus on a geographic area, you still have to become expert then on all the various property types. Whereas if you become an expert in property type, you could take that really anywhere geographically. And then the last thing I would say is I think the valuation industry has been very reactive historically, as opposed to being proactive. And I believe that technology is now finally the inflection point where the valuation industry is really being forced to be proactive and embrace it and try to get ahead of it, never mind keep up with it.
Do you think that's because of the fee and time constraints that you have to use some kind of tools to provide a good product in a timely manner, that you have to leverage technology?
Of course. I mean, there's no question about it. Plus, I mean, if you're not leveraging technology, you're standing still. And if you stand still, in reality, you're really falling backwards. Everybody else is embracing technology. There's really no choice in the matter.
You mentioned AI, and I would call myself proficient. Nobody can be an expert in AI because it's changing. Do you see a place for it to facilitate appraisers, or do you see it more as a threat or as a tool?
Well, I have to acknowledge, unlike you, I am not an expert in AI. I'm figuring it out as we speak. From the bit that I do understand, I believe it definitely is a tool today. I am very focused on the future and any potential threats that might have down the line. My sense is that the the more complex an asset that one's looking at, the further on down the line that AI could replace human intelligence. And so I'm grateful that I'm in a complicated asset class. Single family homes, I think we're starting to see some of that, right? With Zillow and all these other, platforms where you could just type in an address and get a valuation estimate. And I own a couple of residential properties, and I do routinely go on that just to kind of get a feel. I know what these assets are worth, and I have to tell you that the Zillows they're pretty accurate. Again, for the residential assets that I've looked at. So I think it's going to be quite a while if they're ever able to get to, complex assets like hotels. But I think ultimately it's going to happen. Again, I'm not too concerned about it in my lifetime, but I think it's going to happen.
Definitely. And you also mentioned, the Appraisal Institute and a different kind of attitude, more of an entrepreneurial attitude. Part of that discussion, I think, though, is like what you're doing for me today, and I appreciate you coming on. You're taking the time. A lot of appraisers, I won't say they're shy, but they're not, you don't see them on social media. You don't see them, not that they need to do a podcast, but I don't see them as experts anymore on panels. It used to be you'd have like a banker, an attorney, and an appraiser and somebody else. I just don't see appraisers appearing. And I don't think it's a regulatory Dodd-Frank, you can't talk to the lenders and let's disappear. Maybe it's more of a slow hiding of appraisers. Do you think that the repositioning, the messaging that our industry in general, maybe not sales and marketing, but sort of, we sort of need to come out and talk and present and share and collaborate? And
It's what I do all day, every day. I mean, at the end of the day, no pun intended there, appraisal valuation is a professional service, right? No different than accounting or attorneys, right? And I am convinced that folks like to do business with people who they know, they like, and they trust. Life's all about relationships. So you need to demonstrate expertise, no question about it. And there are many appraisers, valuers out there that are highly expert at what they do, but they don't get out there. They don't promote their expertise, their knowledge. So I'm with you on that, Jeff. And I know that you're big on doing it as well. Sharing knowledge, sharing intelligence. The notion of selling data and information. I do a quarterly major sales hotel survey, and I've had folks ask me, why do you give that information away? That's valuable information, and I give it away to establish credibility. And folks look at the survey, they read my comments about what's going on, and invariably, I'm big on social media as well. I have to acknowledge I have a social media consultant. I used to post my own social media. But then came to realize that I don't know anything about algorithms and how all that works. And so she does that for me. And it's been remarkable ever since I brought her on. I produce all my own content. I do not reshare or repost other people's content, and I don't post news. It's all my original content. And it's important. It's important to establish yourself as an expert. There's no doubt about it. And I know you're big on it as well. I see you all over the place. And the mere fact that you're doing this.
yeah, and it really is an authentic give back. I mean, obviously, I don't come on these podcasts. I don't talk about my appraisal enterprise platform, UConnect, which is an appraisal management platform. I guess I just did.
Good for you.
I'm gonna plug myself. I'm gonna chill the thrill. We have a new product just for fun, just talking about the future because you brought up analytics. Not that it's analytics, but we have a new product called Glances, and it's an integration tool that allows you to, I can type in your name and it goes across the core system of a bank, loan origination system, UConnect, Outlook, whatever, goes across multiple platforms and gives you a unified view. But the reason I bring it up is because I love the way you had your 3 buckets, and in your third bucket, I won't say everybody. If you're an appraiser, you got the first bucket, you do appraising. You may do the second bucket of litigation, which I used to do. And then the third bucket is technology process slash business, business intelligence type stuff in whatever form that technology takes. I think that third bucket is like the stool. You started with this, you got the street cred with the expert witness stuff, and now you've got the social proof slash technology kind of blended together. And I think that's the trifecta of what a lot of other appraisers need. Whether you're a small firm, national firm, I think that's what our industry needs. So
Don't forget the asset management piece, because I talked a little bit about that, the advocacy silo of overseeing day-to-day hotel operators where we represent hotel owners.
you're
Right?
advocating in what fashion? What do you mean by
We're
that?
advocating in that we work with, I had mentioned earlier, we work with many folks who are, again, we respectfully refer to them as newbies to the hotel space. The hotel industry is notorious for attracting ego capital. So folks that want to, I own that hotel or I built that hotel, right? They're very smart. They're very sophisticated. They have money or access to money. They know and understand real estate and finance, but hotels are very, very unique forms of real estate. If you think about the fact that daily leasing of guest rooms, right? With technology being what it is today, room rates literally change by the nanosecond, which in a rising market's a beautiful thing. In a declining market, it can really hurt you badly. If you think about a full service hotel, the revenue streams that come out of a full service hotel go way beyond just heads and beds, which is the room's revenue. Food, beverage, recreational, retail, those are all very different revenue sources. And then think about all the expenses associated with those varied revenue sources. So the lodging industry is a very complicated business with high fixed costs, high labor costs. It's constantly changing. Branding is a big thing. Management's a big thing. For the most part, generally speaking, you have lots of parties involved in a hotel investment, whether it's equity, debt, the operator, the brand, and many, many times you have competing agendas. You don't necessarily have everybody lined up with the same incentives, if you will. And so we asset manage and oversee day-to-day operators to make sure that they're maximizing revenues and minimizing expenses.
Oh, I see. That is interesting.
And that's an advocacy role.
Is it comparable to an accountant where they may look at your books live and make suggestions like, hey, maybe you should lease that equipment, or maybe you're spending a lot of
100%.
money over here.
100%.
It's kind of like
We're not accountants. We're not
Right.
accountants, but absolutely, we've gone in and looked at the food and beverage operation of a hotel and helped an owner determine, well, you know what, a higher and better use would be to lease that facility out to a third party restaurant operator, right?
That is super interesting. I wonder what else it would, I mean, I totally get it in the complexity of a hotel, but I wonder what else you're calling it advocacy. What else would that's really interesting. I've never thought of that.
It is advocacy. We represent the owner, and that's who we're advocating for, as opposed to valuation, which is not advocacy, right? Your findings are your findings within a reasonable range.
Right,
Right.
but you're taking your valuation chomps and you're making consultant recommendations.
Taking the expertise in the sector that I've garnered from valuation and moved it over into an advocacy role, representing owners to oversee day-to-day operators. So
That's
I think it's important to recognize that, Marriott owns hardly any hotels. Marriott manages a lot of hotels, right? And they manage them on behalf of institutional investors and family offices. And, some of these groups are not that savvy when it comes to, day-to-day lodging, right? You also have Marriott licensing the name Marriott and all their brands, whether it's Fairfield Inn or Ritz-Carlton, right? And third-party hotel operators, managers who you've probably never heard of because you're not in the sector, Aimbridge Hospitality is the world's largest third-party independent hotel operator. AIMBRIDGE, Aimbridge Hospitality. Very well known in the lodging space. There's a lot of them out there, independent hotel operators who manage hotels under license affiliations through Marriott or Hilton or Hyatt, right? But they also manage independent hotels. And so we work with folks that are buying and or building hotels, and well, first of all, determining highest and best hotel use, right? I can't begin to tell you how many times I've encountered, I want to build a hotel. Well, okay, what kind of hotel you want to build? I don't know, I just want to build a hotel, or I want to buy a hotel. What kind of, I don't know, select service, full service, right? And so we'll help figure out, the optimal use, the optimal configuration, how many rooms, how many types of king-bedded rooms versus double rooms, right? Should it be branded, or should it be independent? If it should be branded, should it be brand managed, or should it be managed by a third-party independent operator under a brand affiliation? I mean, the questions go on and on and on, and it's a great business, by the way.
Yeah, I think you've just created a new industry for appraisers, if they can figure out how it relates to other industries, not just hotel and the lodging space.
Make sure I get down for a 10% referral.
I think you should teach a course, a podcast. Seriously.
Maybe we'll do it together.
That is a super interesting idea. I've never thought of that. But and that's the point of this. We're collaborating, we're talking, sharing ideas. It's really just to again elevate the industry. It's not like you're paying me, I'm paying you. This is just, we're taking our time because I think we both care about the industry. I've been in it for a while. You've been in it for a while. I think a lot of appraisers, including yourself, I'm going to guess, really love the industry and really want to see it continue in a good, and it's in a strong fashion. We don't want it to decline in quality. We want to, keep the bar high. We want to keep it professional. I like that you want to call it advisors or valuators, or a different word, because I do think appraisers kind of has a clipboard mentality in the public, not the sophistication that a lot of appraisers have. But Daniel, I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's really been a pleasure conversing with you.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Thank you.